Now, Premier League this season has a different look about it. The 17 games played, which is almost half the programme. And Arsenal are on top, Liverpool second, Aston Villa third. Manchester City are fourth, and they're 5 points behind Arsenal, 4 behind Liverpool and Aston Villa. It's very unusual at this stage in the season for City not to be on top. Certainly unusual for them to be 5 points behind the leaders and in the process of making the Premier League a procession. And they've done that frequently in recent years. But it doesn't look as if it's going to happen this year. And we're joined now by John Giles to discuss the weekend's games. John, I suppose we should start with Liverpool, Manchester United. Everybody, including me, I would have put my house on it. I thought that Liverpool were a certainty and they were anything but, were they? This was a hell of a game. And Manchester United deserve considerable credit for the way they dug in.
Well, yeah, I think that obviously with the situation at recent times, with them having such a bad time, I think they have to go to Anfield to defend, sadly not to give any goals away, which really they should be doing all season. It still doesn't stop you from scoring goals. But anyway, there was a good bit of spirit about them. McTominay captain, which was a big deal, I think, for them. Fernandes didn't play, wasn't missed at all, because the spirit that they showed against Liverpool hasn't been there in recent weeks. And Fernandes is the captain, and he hasn't shown himself to be a captain for Manchester United, in my opinion. So I think Man U had to do what they did, with the form they've been in and the results they've had, going to Liverpool. Everybody's talking about the result last season, 7-0. Would it be another 7-0? So they were determined for that not to happen.
Yes.
And they did a good job. I mean, going to Liverpool in the situation they're in was a job well done. And if they had the same spirit week in and week out, they wouldn't be having the problems that they have.
Yeah, and he brought back Varane, who's been sitting on the bench for 6 weeks, virtually since the start of the season. Varane is a top player, John. He's only 30. He's quick, good on the ball. He's a World Cup winner. He's a French international, a long-standing, although he's quit his international career now to focus on club football. And Ten Hag won't play him. He's been playing anybody there except Varane. Now, he was forced into it to some extent because Harry Maguire, I think, was suspended. But he played Evans, Johnny Evans, who's 36, but he played for the Alex Ferguson teams, and they were a good partnership, John, Varane and Evans, and they stood up to Liverpool, particularly to Núñez and Diaz. I thought both of whom, now I love Diaz, I think he's a marvellous player, but he didn't play well at the weekend. Núñez is a bit of a puzzle, John, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, Eamon, because his head doesn't seem to be there sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes you see him and think he's a really top-class player.
Yeah.
Can be, but he's one of those can-be's, Eamon, you know. Yeah. They're no good to you really overall, because you can't depend on them to do what needs to be done. And he loses the head very easily as well. You know, he gets very aggressive, which is okay if you're doing it in the right way, but not when you're giving fouls away on it. So, from Manchester United's point of view, Eamon, I think I'd agree with you on the centre-half situation, but there's been more than that missing.
Oh yeah,
from them, as we know. You know, yeah. Going to Liverpool, they were all up for it. They were all up for that, and that's the spirit you need every week.
Yes,
week in, week out, week in, week out. So it might be a turning point for Manchester United to show what he can easily say to him. Look, we didn't get a hiding, we did well, we didn't concede a goal, but we've got to be doing this every week. That's what we've got to do, and. They made it very, very difficult for Liverpool. Liverpool couldn't break them down. They were on top most of the time, had most of the ball. So Manchester United did a good job.
Yeah, I don't think they're out of the woods yet. Looking at the team they put out, this fella Amrabat, he played for Morocco in the World Cup and did really well. And Morocco did really well. And he's appeared out of nowhere. He started. He's not much of a player, John, in my opinion.
No, he's on loan, Eamon.
Yeah. Anthony cost 90 million, John.
Yeah.
From Ajax, actually. I think it was Ajax. It's Ten Hag's old club. And he's had chance after chance. He plays him every week. He's useless.
Well, he hasn't done it, Eamon.
Yeah.
But the main thing from Manchester United weekend was the spirit in which they showed.
Yes.
Eamon.
Yeah.
You know, they got to Liverpool, one of the best teams, could be the best team in the league, and they get a point.
Yeah.
And they didn't give Liverpool much of a chance. They didn't miss loads of chances. Or
no, they
like
did
that.
not. No, didn't create them.
So it shows they can do it if and when they're playing in Liverpool away. Now they've got to do that week in and week out, week in and week out. Like that's what top teams do. So we'll have to wait and see in the future. Is that a starting point for them for this season? Because if they can show it against Liverpool, they should be able to show it against anybody else as well. That's what it needs in the league. Week in, week out, week in, week out.
Yeah, I mean, the other interesting thing is he's kept Varane out of the team. And until very recently, he'd no time for McTominay. He didn't start the season in the team, and he only got in because of injury. He scored a goal or two. But McTominay is a grafter, John. He's done well for Scotland. He scored 5 goals for Scotland, who have qualified for the European Championship finals. He's a good-hearted lad. I like McTominay. He always has a go. He put his foot in, and he's got that kind of belief, which is more like a Ferguson belief than anything Ten Hag has shown.
Well, I think he's an example, Eamon, to the rest of the players of how to approach a game and do your best.
Yeah,
I'd be the same as you. I didn't fancy him in the Manchester United team, but he's become a star man mainly because he's Manchester United mad. Eamon, he loves Manchester United. He's been there since he was a kid.
Yeah,
and he's a perfect example for Fernandes and all these guys that are a lot more ability than he has to show the right spirit. And he's been terrific. I mean, I didn't fancy him in the team. I thought he wasn't good enough for Manchester United. But his spirit alone, he got back into the team. He scored a couple of goals, valuable goals, really valuable goals for Manchester United in recent times.
Yeah.
But it's his attitude, he cares.
He cares,
He's been there at Manchester United since he was a kid.
Yeah.
And he cares about them, and he wants to do it. And he's a perfect example for lads coming in, a few lads that you mentioned there, that don't have the same spirit. And spirit is 50, in players, in my opinion, more than 50% of the job, to have the right spirit to get out and play. And he did that, and he did it again. He's made him captain. I mean, as you say, he wasn't in the team. I think he came on as a sub at one of the matches, and later on when they were behind, and he scored 2 late goals to get them out of jail. And he stayed in the team ever since then. And he's a perfect example to everybody around him. And he did well to be captain of the Manchester United team. He loves it.
Yeah. Now let's look at Liverpool, John. They won 11 games out of 11 before they ran into United on Sunday. They were warm favourites. They beat Manchester United 7-0 in the equivalent fixture last season. They had no big injury problems, and they had no chances. I didn't see it. I mean, Mo Salah had a very poor game by his standards. Diaz, as I said, again, by his high standards, very poor game. Now, there's 3 guys in midfield. I want to ask you about this, John. Szoboszlai, who's the Hungarian, and he scored a wonder goal in a League Cup match. I think it was on his debut or his second game from about 30 yards. He's trying to do every week now. They've got Gravenberch, who's a young Dutch player. He looks a very, very good player. Big, strong lad, quick, good feet. And a fella called Endo, who I thought was a kid, but I learned during the match the other day, he's 30. I don't know where they got him from, but he didn't do it on Sunday for sure. And they were never under any danger. United didn't created one chance. But Liverpool never played with the urgency and the intensity that we're used to, did they?
Well, they weren't allowed to, Eamon. To be fair to them, I mean, I understand about the midfield, and McAllister didn't play as probably the best midfield player. But he's not a midfield general, then. I think that's what we're talking about here.
Yes, it is a bit of experience, John. Like, I mean, they lost Milner and Henderson. Yeah. The last time Liverpool won the league 3 or 4 years ago, Wijnaldum was a big player for them in midfield. Because you were one of the great midfield players at Leeds in a championship winning team. midfield is it, isn't it? In big games.
Well, it's very hard. It's very hard, Eamon, to have a top-class team without a good midfield.
Yeah.
Because midfielders, you got defenders defending, attackers. They're dependent on midfield players all the time.
Yes.
The defender has the ball, he wants a midfield player to take it from him, and obviously for the midfield player to make goals at the far end. They don't have anybody like that at the moment. McGallagher's probably the best they have.
Yes.
Eamon.
Yeah, he's a World Cup winner. He sits very deep, though, John, doesn't he?
Well, he's a bit too quiet, Eamon.
Yes, yeah.
For my liking.
Yeah.
He gets on with the job, he does it, but I never see him demanding anything of his fellow players to get on it himself. He just does it in a very, very quiet way. And you need somebody in there to dominate the players around you. And they haven't got anybody to like that. But you'd have to say, I mean, they've been going very well anyway, apart from the Manchester United match. But you'd have to give credit. And they're not going to play against the Manchester United team that had the spirit and the attitude at the weekend.
No, they're going to play against Arsenal in this coming Saturday night. It's the Arsenal, 5:30 match.
Arsenal won't play in the same way, Eamon. You know what I mean?
No.
Arsenal will be going to win the match. Manchester United set out the other day to get more or less a no-score draw. They never looked like scoring a goal, but because of the situation they're in at the moment, they have to play the way they played, which is the right thing to do. It makes it very difficult for any team to play against, including Liverpool.
Yeah, now there was a row after the game because Virgil van Dijk came on to Sky and gave his interview, and in the course of the interview he said there was only one team trying to win the match. It came back to studio and Roy Keane gave him a lash and said he was out of order. I mean, I think Roy Keane was right. I mean, Manchester United went there to survive, to get the best result they could. But it wasn't as if they stifled Liverpool. It was Liverpool played very poorly. Indeed, all of their top players really didn't show up on the day, including the great Mo Salah. But Roy gave him a lash. I think he was right, wasn't he?
Well, I would have agreed with Keane in the situation. I mean, like no player, no team, no player can argue or tell the opposition how they should play.
Yes.
You've no control over that. No. Liverpool, Manchester United went with a plan to Liverpool, which was to defend well, give nothing away, which they did.
Yeah.
And Liverpool weren't good enough on the day to score.
Yes.
Well, that's credit to Manchester. But as a Liverpool player, you can't say, "Oh, hang on here, this is not fair." You're not trying to win the game.
Yeah.
I think what Van Dijk was saying, there was only one team trying to win it.
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah.
If Manchester United are in the position they're in and the draw is a good result for them, that's what they do. You've no say on what the opposition are doing.
No.
If that's what they want to do on the day, that's what they do. Now you have to beat them.
Yeah.
So you can't complain about, "Oh, no, this is not fair." We're the only team trying to win the game.
Now let's go on to Manchester City, John. They were 2-0 up. I watched the match on Saturday night, the whole match, and they were cruising, John. They weren't playing well. They were 2-0 up. Grealish and Lewis, a young lad who's a promising young lad, he's brought into the team. He scored a second goal. 2-0 up against Palace. Cruising, really. It was kind of slow motion football, the way City do it sometimes. City have lost that intensity to win the ball back. But to cut a long story short, Palace got 2 goals in the last 15 minutes.
Yeah.
To take 2 points from City, and they're 2 important points because for once they're fourth in the table, they're 5 points behind Arsenal, 4 points behind Liverpool and Villa, and they got work to do now. And you flagged it up to us and our listeners and to me early in the season that they're not playing with the urgency and intensity that you'd expect. Why? Is it the treble-winning team last year thinking the job's done?
Well, there's a lot to say in that, Eamon. They won the treble last year. The season starts very, very quickly again. They are now, like we talked about a little bit before, no De Bruyne, Gundogan, Mahrez. They
Yes.
were the three, good, really top-class players
Yes.
in winning the treble. And the season comes around very, very quickly again, Eamon. When when you're in the mood that they were in to do what needed to be done,
Yes.
it's high stuff, really high stuff.
And takes a lot out of you.
Then you get to start the season again, and I found anyway in my time, I tell you what we spoke about before when Leeds won the league, we started again. And you don't have that intensity that you did at the end of that previous season.
Yeah.
We got it as we went along, but it took a little bit of time. And I think City have lost three big players there. That one went on to win the treble. But at the same time, they haven't been defending well at all, Eamon.
No, and it's curious because he left John Stones on the bench. He brought him on late on. Now, Stones has been doing well, and he's been an essential part of the City team now for quite a while. Diaz is a very good player. Ake is a very good player. We know Kyle Walker's a much improved player. If there's any tribute to be paid to Pep Guardiola as a coach, it's the way he's modified Kyle Walker's game. All that crazy rushing forward, booting the ball into the stand is stopped. He's using his pace now very intelligently. He passes the ball. He's become a very, very good player. I think that maybe the best right back in England. The penalty that Palace got was in the last minute. I think Foden made a rash challenge. It was definitely a penalty. And I felt sorry for Foden. There was no malice in it, but it was a penalty. And a young fellow who'd just come on, Olise, for Palace, stuck it away. It was a real good penalty. But for Roy Hodgson, you could see his face lit up. And for City, bad news. That's 2 points dropped, isn't it?
Oh yeah, you can't do that. They've been doing it all season now. They haven't been. There's been no emphasis on defending.
Yeah.
In any way. I mean, if you look at the 2 goals, I saw them on the telly afterwards.
Yeah.
There were 2 long passes.
Yeah.
In the game when they did score from them. One, and next thing, the ball over the top and they're through. But they haven't been. I think Pep at his best doesn't defend or put as much emphasis on defending, Eamon, as he does obviously attacking, because that's what they do most of the time. But there's some stage in any game you have to defend. And looking at them this season, one ball over the top, and the opposition are through.
Yeah.
They're not defending anywhere near as well as they should be defending, and you can't give goals away. I mean, Palace, they should have had, when they got the 2-0 up, Eamon, in a game, you make sure the opposition, if you're not going to score anymore, you make sure the opposition are not going to score. So they've been giving goals away too easily this season. In the last few matches particularly, Eamon, 4-1 match, 2 against teams that they should be wiping away.
Yeah.
Now, they would miss Haaland because they did have chances in the game they didn't put away. Same against Spurs, they didn't put them away, but Haaland was playing there. But you have to get some emphasis on defending.
Right.
And they're not doing that.
No, and Haaland...
They've lost to 3 players from last year. But you see, they're 5 points behind, Eamon. I mean, if you go back a couple of seasons, I think they were 9 points behind Arsenal in one season.
Yeah.
And still came back to win it. They're still capable of doing it, but you shouldn't be getting yourself in the position that they're in at the moment. That's for sure.
Now, one of the great stories of the season, John, we both watched this match on Friday night. It was Notts Forest at home against Spurs. Spurs won 2-0, and there's something really fascinating about this Spurs team and their coach, Ange Postecoglou, who came from Celtic, where he was for 2 years. He'd coached in Japan before that. He's got Spurs playing, and even though they've lost Maddison and Van der Veer, 2 really top-class players, until after Christmas, he's got something, this manager, hasn't he, this coach? And it's something we both like, and you like particularly, in his demeanour and the way he's transferred that calmness and confidence to his players. And in particular, to Richarlison, who scored the first goal on Friday night. Now, he was a waste of space. We've watched him for years.
Yeah.
He's a Brazilian, and he's moody, and he had apparently got mental health problems, but they're fixed now, and he's playing out of his skin. Down to the coach, would you say?
Yeah, definitely. Well, he scored the goals, Eamon.
Yeah.
I think he hadn't scored a goal for a year. He was a disaster, really, at Everton and the early days at Spurs the same. But he's come back in the last 6-7 weeks, whatever it is, and he's really scoring goals the way Spurs expected him to score goals when they bought him. So I think he's made a big change in him. They've lost Harry Kane. Imagine what they'd be doing if Kane was still there. And, he has this attitude that this is what we're going to do. Backs the players in doing it. Very, very risky, I find. Anyway, watching him, very risky from the back, paying out from the back. But really, really, really good. He's got the players playing for him in that particular way. He's leading them. He doesn't get too upset if they make a mistake in doing what he wants them to do. And he's been really, really good. Really good. Spurs, they were away to Forest, and they won comfortably. Playing the way they play, or he wants them to play.
They've got a couple of hard men as well, John. Romero, who's a kicker, Udogie. These are players I'd never heard of now, and I don't know where he found them, but he found them. Porro, the right back, is a very good player actually, and the goalkeeper they've got. Vicario, these are all new players. If he gets Maddison back and Van der Veer, who's a brilliant centre half, John, quick as well, you've seen him, I don't have to tell you, but he's got pace, great feet, big tall lad. Don't know where he got him from. He's Dutch. Never heard of him before, but if he gets his team back together, they're only a point behind City. It could be a transformation for Spurs, because for years there's been this thing called Spursy, which I think Keane invented. When they go up north, they don't have a go, and they throw games away and all of that stuff. But that's gone.
Oh yeah. Well, he's been around, Eamon. He's had big jobs. Wasn't he at Celtic?
He was, for 2 years and won everything.
Won everything. And we don't know where he was before that, but he obviously knows his way, and he's very confident when he speaks about the way he wants to play. I heard him a couple of times. And he said, we can't win all the time, but we do what we do, and we continue to do what we do. And obviously, the players that you've mentioned there, I've never heard of them before.
No.
But he's been around the game a long time.
Yes.
He's managed in different countries apart from here. So as a manager like that, you do pick up players.
Yes.
That nobody, you've worked with them, or you've seen them in different countries, and say, well, if I went to certain club, I'd get them.
Yes.
That nobody else knows about, as you say. But him being around a long time in different countries, managing different countries, he would definitely see players that other people wouldn't see. And he's taking advantage of it. And he hasn't paid, and as you say there, he hasn't paid much money for them, Eamon.
No, well, he won't at Spurs, will he?
Exactly.
He won't get much money, but it's nice to see he's a very pleasant, confident man, and it's transfers to the players, to their mindset. And they're not afraid to play out from the back. They're not afraid to play in their own penalty area. But he's getting results. And Son has continued to be a really wonderful player, isn't he? He really is. Him and Kane had a great partnership. People thought he might suffer when Kane left. In fact, he scored 8 goals this season, and it doesn't appear to be suffering at all.
I thought he would suffer, Eamon, because if you look back over the Kane relationship, and him, Kane made an awful lot of goals for him with his pass, because he could make long passes. And I think at the start of the season, I think he did struggle a bit. Son. And then he might have moved into a different position, or maybe the manager moved him to a different position, and he's come. Well, he's a terrific lad. He's a great attitude, and he scored in goals again like he did when Kane was there. So that's a biggie for it. To have somebody like him, Eamon, in the club. Just getting on with the job, a real pro. You never see him moaning and groaning with anything and players around him, and he's absolutely brilliant. And he's back doing it again, scoring goals the way we know he can score goals.
Just a final point, John, on Everton. They went to Burnley on Friday. I think I told you during last week that there was a great match on at 5:30 on Saturday. But I don't know if you believe me or not. But the great match was Burnley at home to Everton. And of course, Sean Dyche going back to the club that sacked him. He got a standing ovation from the fans when he walked out, which was nice to see. This is from the Burnley fans.
Yes.
And Everton killed them, John. They didn't let them out of their own half. Burnley look a really poor side. I mean, they really do. And Vincent Kompany, who's the head coach there, had a big reputation as a player, did a great job at Manchester City, is a very highly respected man. But it looks like the Burnley board haven't changed the habit of a lifetime, and they're not giving them any money for players. But Everton were really, really good, John. They won 2-0 in the end, but it could have been more.
Yeah, and he's doing a great job there, Eamon, especially with the problems that,
10 points.
Big, huge problems in recent weeks.
Yeah.
And they've reacted brilliantly.
Yes.
You know, Dyche did a great, I think it was about 10 years at Burnley.
10 years he was there, John, and he kept him in the division. He's a good, straight down the middle, honest to God sort of guy. Nothing flash about him. He works with the players he's got. He never whinges about what he hasn't got. And you'd hate to see Everton go out of the league on his watch.
Oh yeah, well the way they're going, Eamon, you know, I think the three you mentioned Burnley there, and Vincent Kompany, no resources, Eamon.
No,
you know, he did a great job to get them up in his first season.
Yeah, by a record margin.
They've no money. They've no money to do it, Eamon, and it's no coincidence either that the three teams now at the bottom of the Premiership are the three teams that were promoted last year.
Yeah, Sheffield United, Burnley, Luton.
Yeah. See, they don't have the money. I mean, even in what was that, the old second division.
Yeah.
You know, there were some big clubs. I mean, Man Utd went down one year. You know, lots of big teams went down, but they had the resources to get back up.
Yes.
All the resources now are in the Premiership. If you look at the second division now, you know, teams that come up this year, we'll keep an eye on that, will struggle next year. So it's no coincidence that Burnley never gave any money. That's why you got a standing ovation from the Burnley crowd.
He did,
Dyche.
It was very nice.
John Dyche.
Yeah.
Because he did such a great job over the years.
Yeah, with nothing. Let me ask you finally, for your own fans, John, the Leeds fanatics, they're Leicester, Ipswich. I watched Leicester against Birmingham actually last night, and they beat them comfortably. They look like a top team. Leicester and Ipswich are 10 points ahead of Leeds, who had a disappointing 1-1 draw at home to Coventry at the weekend. 36,000 at the match, John. It really is a sleeping giant, but you're optimistic for this season.
Yeah. I think Mr. Farke is the manager. He's come from Norwich.
Yeah.
I think he's doing a good job so far. He does it quietly. He does it well. They're in third spot at the moment. They might finish in third spot, but it'll be enough to get promoted.
Well, it'll be enough to get into playoffs. They need to be in the top two to be promoted.
To get into playoffs?
Yeah, top two are automatically promoted, and then the top four after them, down to sixth, go into the playoffs. But at the moment, they're in the playoffs. They're not automatically promoted.
No, okay.
You wouldn't know about the lower leagues. I do. I spent a long time in them.
I think he's improved them, Eamon. And
yes.
They're not messing around. They've got to, like most managers, they've got to back him to do what needs to be done. And I think the Leeds directors or owners now, they don't like throwing the money around, Eamon, and buying players like a lot of other clubs. But so far, he's done a really, really good job.
And 36,700 people at the match, John. That is a club with potential to be in the Premier League and to be players in the Premier League.
Oh, definitely. Yep. Yeah. I mean, the Leeds supporters, they haven't had a good time for a few years now. Yep. You know, but they're still going. They're still going to the matches.
Yeah.
And they're a fanatical crowd. If they get going at all, I mean, they'll certainly get the crowd behind them.
Well, they've plenty of time. It's a long season, John. We're very grateful to you for joining us. That's the last time we'll talk to you before Christmas. So on behalf of all our listeners and all our team here, we wish you a happy Christmas. Leeds loads of points. And I think of all our favourite coaches this season, it's Ange Postecoglou, once we learn to say his name. And we wish him and Spurs a happy Christmas as well.
Yeah. I wish all your listeners, Eamon, happy Christmas. Yourself and your good lady.
Yeah, and we'll be back.
we look forward to getting back after Christmas.
Okay, John, thank you very much. We're grateful to John, of course, every week, to all of you for listening. That's all we have time for now, and a happy Christmas.